Good evening and happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody out there. Rob here. It's been a while since I put out a video. As you very well know, I'm not much of a YouTuber, but today's video is a couple purposes here. Number one, I'm kind of paying tribute to my dear friend Dave Card and kind of doing the same shave he did a few weeks ago in a video. And today we'll be using WSP's Black Amber Vanille shave soap, and we'll also be using this little razor here. This is a non-folding shavette razor, and the other purpose of this video was to just talk a little bit about non-folding shavette razors, or as some people refer to them, as a Kamisori style razor. So anyhow, a little bit about this particular razor. This is it takes Artist Club, Feather Artist Club style blades, also available from Kai, Schick Pro line, and a few other lesser known brands. It's usually referred to as the CJB razor, and that's how it was originally branded. But if you look on the, I don't know if you can see the logo, it says Greager on the molded grip here. It says a part number GR100B, and even on the box, nowhere does it say CJB. So I think there was a rebranding a few years ago. The only reason I'm mentioning this is if you're looking for this razor online, eBay is usually the best place to get it. You may still find it listed as a CJB, but I strongly recommend using the Greager, G-R-E-A-G-E-R branding, or that GR100B, and you're more likely to get more hits, and you can get the the best price on them. Anyhow, a little bit about non-folding Kamisoris style shavettes. I know a few people that are proficient with straight razors and shavettes and are a little bit, I guess you could say, intimidated by the use of something like this that doesn't have any scales. And I think the individual experience is going to be different for each individual, of course. But I found that it really wasn't bad at all. It may have taken a couple of shaves to get over that paradigm of not having scales on the razor, but I found it quite easy. I'll add another little bonus about this particular razor is you can slide the molded grip off, and you look, there's a hole for a pivot pin. So if you're somebody who's looking into getting into say Artist Club type shavettes, I don't currently have one, or non-folding razors in general, this is a pretty good buy. You can get one for about 20 bucks typically on eBay, and that includes shipping. At least in the US, it includes shipping. They usually ship out of Korea. The only disadvantage if you decide to convert this to a folding razor using scales is that there are no jimps. So if you're somebody who's used to having jimps on a razor, you may not like that too much. But as a non-folding, it's got some little serrations on the molded rubber grip, and I guess it serves also as somewhat of a thumb notch. And I really do find this particular razor to be very ergonomic. Again, getting back to what I was saying, I know I'm rambling on a bit here, but about people being concerned about not having scales. I kind of get that, because here's one of my straight razors. This is just a Dovo 5/8. When I first started straight razor shaving, which I did before I even picked up shavettes, this was my standard grip. I know some people will grab them like this, but this was my preferred grip, just like so. Got the middle finger on the tail, the thumb on the jimps. This razor has no thumb notch, which I actually prefer. And to stabilize this razor, I'm kind of pinching the scales between my fingers here. However, as I started to use different types of straight razors and shavettes, I find some have a different sort of, I'll call it the tail to tang ratio. This is the tang here by my thumb. This is the tail. Different shapes. Again, some of them have a thumb notch, some of them don't. And I found myself adapting to the different types of traditional scaled straight razors and shavettes, and becoming less reliant on those scales as something that I would pinch onto and stabilize my grip. I do want to point out that I heard from somebody else, this is a person who I believe has used folding and non-folding, and I believe it was mentioned that one of the things he finds helpful with the scales on a straight razor is by having the scales sticking out, he can kind of use that as a judgment of getting the blade angle right. And I had never thought of that, but that's actually a very good point. That's going to differ from straight razor to straight razor, because some of them may have, I've got a Drew Dick razor where the scales really come off at a unusual curve, and in my peripheral vision or even in the mirror, it's going to have a little bit of a different sort of visual cue, if you will, to help me get that blade angle. But apparently I'm not somebody who uses the scales to judge blade angle. I tend to look at the razor, so I guess that's why I don't find it to be much of an issue. I've got quite a few of these non-folding shavettes. I've got this one that you've seen already. I'm also going to point out I do have the Feather DX non-folding razor. If you look at these two side by side, you'll see a lot of similarities to them. This one's made from Zamac, a zinc alloy. This is from 316 stainless steel. The similarities is no coincidence. Well, this is not a clone of this one. It is actually a clone of the predecessor to this razor, which is the Feather RG, which basically had identical geometry for the most part, but it was made from brass that was then plated with a silver type of chrome plating. One other difference on these two is, you may not see it in the camera, but the feather that's in this hand here has a little bit of a hollow ground effect, whereas the CJB and the Feather RG, of which it's based on, does not. It's essentially flat. Not a big deal. The grip on the CJB or Greager is very similar to that of the Feather RG. You'll notice the Feather DX, the grips aren't quite as pronounced, which I was concerned originally that it may not be as easy and ergonomic and easy to grip as this. But this is a textured, rough rubber surface, and it's certainly just as easy to grip. It's just a little bit thinner, I guess you could say. But it does have contours in the right place, sort of a thumb notch effect as well, and I have no problem gripping either razor. The non-folding shavettes are available in other forms. This is the somewhat popular Kurenai GF35 type, but it is the non-folding version. I purchased from a vendor called Univinlians on AliExpress. This is about a $9 or $10 razor. And this is inspired by the Kai Captain razor, but it's made to take double-edged blades. And this is a very popular, in the folding variety as well, a very popular razor because it's got a small amount of blade exposure, and it's just a very ergonomic design, and it's pretty forgiving when paired with the right blade. I mean, if I put a Derby Extra in it, it's still a pretty vicious razor, but if I put a decent blade in there, like especially like a Gillette Silver Blue, it is just smooth as silk. So this is another option for trying non-folding shavettes without breaking the bank. This is also sold by that same Univinlians vendor on AliExpress. This is intended to be a true clone of the Kai Captain, which also accepts Artist Club blades. And it's really done a good job of cloning all the features, although this is the black version and it's painted. I'm not a big fan of that. I prefer like a plated finish. I will note that if you're someone who uses a Kai Captain and you purchase this razor, you will notice there's a fair amount more blade exposure in this than you'll find in the Kai. I know the Feather DX, I don't have a blade in it right now, but the Feather DX has a bit more blade exposure than the Kai Captain. This looks like the Kai Captain, but the blade exposures on these two are actually very similar. And the last one in my collection, I have a non-folding Feather SS. I won't get into all the creature features of the Feather SS, other than to point out that it's got this little bump on here. It's a little bit of a different animal. There are plenty of discussion forum threads that discuss the difference between these two. But on the SS, Feather doesn't seem to put any special contours or ergonomic features on it, on this particular grip. Although this grip is very similar to a lot of your traditional Kamisoris, your actual Japanese straight razors. This is a very common grip, the way it curves and contours. But I found, again, this rubber compound is easy to hold even with the fingers wet or with soap on them. And one of the sort of bonus features of this design is when you're doing the chin, it's really easy to just sort of rotate and make that blade angle and keep it consistent as you roll over that chin. And I can do it with all of them, but the round feature in some ways I found to be helpful. So each one of these things has their own advantages and drawbacks, some of them based on personal preference. But today we're going to be shaving with this guy and sort of mimicking Dave's little shave he did a couple weeks ago. I'll also point out that while Dave tried to make it seem as if this was his nervous shave that he wasn't too comfortable with, you watch that video. I'll link it down below, and you tell me if he looks like he's struggling. Anyhow, I'm gonna start to whip up some lather here. I'll do that off camera here, and I'll be back in a jiffy. And we're back. All right, so we've loaded our brush here. This is an AP Shave cashmere brush, 26 millimeter knot. We're going to try face lather here today. This is one of two WSP soaps that I own, and I'll be the first to admit I don't have a tremendous amount of experience with it, so we'll see how this goes. Did a nice thorough face washing before we started here. Today I just used a regular glycerin soap bar here. Since I'm not fresh out of the shower here, I tend to like to do a really good face washing. I'll even use, in some cases I'll just use something like a regular Dial soap or maybe a, exfoliating face wash type of thing, but I definitely find I need to hydrate this a bit more. Definitely find that a good thorough face washing, letting that water soak in a bit, seems to help soften up the whiskers for a shave. Yeah, this is a pretty thirsty soap, or maybe I just overloaded the brush. But it's lathering up easy, that's nice. I tend to like my lather a little less hydrated than most. My lather doesn't typically pass what some people call the Johann test. I tend to like it a little more like cake frosting, I guess you could say. So, anyhow, that's a pretty nice lather from this soap. Only used this a couple times. And here we go. We're loaded up with a Kai Captain Titan Mild, or Kai Pink, as some of them call it. Some people call it. Actually, that's what Kai calls it. I think the pink is actually an acronym. Got about a good 3 days worth of growth. And I can see why, oh, by the way, it's not passing the Johann test. As you can see, it's like a pile of cake frosting, but that's typically how I like my lather. Anyhow, so I'm just grabbing it here by the little thumb notch with my other fingers here to stabilize it. And I feel very comfortable with this grip. Feel very secure in the way I'm holding the razor. Yes, I can see why someone who uses the scales through their peripheral vision as a judgment of angle, it might be a problem, but I just tend to look at the razor and I rotate accordingly to get what I feel is the proper angle. Switch hands here. Actually, let me get a little over here first. I like to start with a north-south pass, and in that case, when I'm shaving the left side of my face, I use the left hand, and opposite right hand for the right side of the face. Kind of either or for the chin in the middle. Oddly enough, I'm right-handed, but I seem to find myself using the left hand for doing those either or situations. You know, a few shaves into getting accustomed to this type of razor, I really found myself actually enjoying being sort of unrestrained by the scales. That's our first pass. Let's rinse up here and go for another one. Plenty of sort of residual lather on there. I actually think even that was a little less hydrated than even I like it, so I just added a little bit of water to this bowl. I'm going to kind of swirl that into the knot here. This bowl is from Hendrix Classics and Company. Pete Hendrix. Great guy if you've never checked out some of his products. I do believe the potter that made that bowl for him is no longer making bowls for him, so don't know if this exact bowl will continue to be available, but I want to say it was like 25 bucks. I think it's a bargain. I'll be finishing today's shave with the balm, shave balm from Hendrix Classics, which I really think is superb. I used to be an alcohol splash guy, and it's kind of made me not totally a balm guy, but much less of a splash guy. Matter of fact, I'm more inclined to use a balm after a shave than I am a splash, unless that I have a matching splash to go with a soap, which seems to go together well. So now here with the non-folding razor, this is kind of how I hold it for my south-north passes. With a traditional folding razor, I guess it's not terribly different the way I hold it. Kind of something like this, with the scales down here, kind of reaching my fingers around the scales to stabilize the blade. But again, just not being confined by the scales, I can kind of have the freedom to sort of maneuver this thing a little bit better. So here we go. Note to self, check the memory capacity on the phone before you record a video. I ran out of space on the phone midway through the shave here, and I had to stop and delete some files. But we're back. Some of that lather dried up a little bit, because as I said before, I tend to underhydrate my lather. So we'll brush a little more on there. Anyhow, so we're doing a south to north pass. Same thing with the left hand, and kind of grip it in a similar way. I got my index finger on that little thumb notch grippy area. Just sort of work it up. Get the angle right, put the what feels to be the appropriate amount of pressure, which is very light. And yes, I'm one of those people that does the buffing motion pretty much all the time. That's how I learned how to straight razor shave. So I guess old habits die hard. And I find it very effective. I know a few guys will do the long stroke all the way down, even from the face to the neck. That's never really worked for me. Over here, above the lip especially, I don't do it directly against the grain pass, nor do I do it down here in the, I guess the whole goatee area. I just get too much irritation doing that, so I do kind of across the grain motion and then call it good. Yeah, the whiskers I have here are very sensitive, and they're especially sensitive toward a blade that isn't like super perfect sharp. So that's kind of my litmus test to determine if a blade needs to be bent or if a straight razor needs to be taken to the paste or honed, is when it starts getting tuggy over here. Even going straight down with the grain, it will be tuggy if that blade isn't perfect. Okay, we'll rinse up. I got enough lather on this brush to probably shave 3-4 times. But typically what I do here after those 2 passes, I got a pretty darn good shave. I could probably leave it at that. But certain areas like here in the sideburns, both of them, and sometimes the neck could use a little bit more. So I'll usually just do kind of a sideways pass. The whiskers on my face grow kind of this way, and the same thing on this side. So when I do my south to north or my north to south, I'm not going directly with the grain. I'm kind of going a little bit across the grain. Same thing with the south to north. And when I kind of go sideways, I'm getting a little bit more against the grain. So usually I'll just do that real quick. Not necessarily a full pass, just cheeks and neck. And if I got any spots that need touch up around here, I'll do them too, but we're in pretty good shape. And I don't go for the baby smooth shave on the goatee area. Mostly it's the cheeks. The neck is never perfectly 100% smooth, just because of the fact that the whiskers grow in so many sort of different directions, and I can never do a sideways neck pass with this type of razor. But I guess I can go a little bit sideways. I learned early on that if I try to chase a BBS on the neck, that I'm just going to get a bunch of irritation and not really anything to show for it. So that's kind of as far as I go. to kind of cup it in the hand, but I still use that. I use that index finger on that thumb notch, and my other two fingers are kind of gripping the razor here to stabilize it. It seems to be a very helpful way to hold it. Get these last few bits. Okay. Yep, we got the BBS shave on the neck. I'm sorry, on the cheeks. And we got darn close to it on the neck, although if I go in this direction, that's almost directly against the grain. I can still feel them. And I got a little bit of a, 120 grit sandpaper roughness here if I go against the grain, and that's what I go for these days. So we'll rinse up, we'll put our aftershave on, we're good to go. Soap has a decent post-shave feel. Definitely a very nice, pleasant, and pretty powerful scent. All right, so the Hendrix system, for those who aren't familiar with it, Hendrix Classics and Company, the way that system typically works, you can get scented soaps. I think there may be a few different options for scented balms, but the big kind of claim to fame of the Hendrix system is that you add the scent oil yourself to the soap and to the balm if desired. Usually little dropper bottles. Today I actually have a sample that was sent to me by Pete Hendrix with another item I ordered. This bottle has just a little orifice in there. You kind of have to tap it out of there like a hot sauce thing. This is OUD or Oud Emperor is the name of the scent. First time trying it. So what I like to do with this balm here, it's a very nice balm. It's got great healing properties. I got this little scooper here. That's probably even excessive, but I scoop a little bit out, place it in the palm of my hand. I should and I will make a video just on the Hendrix system. And then it's a little easier with the dropper bottle, but I'll do what I can here. Take the scent oil here. Yep, when I tap it, I can see a little bit squirt out. And from the looks of that, that's about what 2 drops would be with the dropper bottle, which just gives it bit of a generous amount more. So I've got the oil and the balm in the palm of my hand. Just go ahead and swirl it around. And then just give I definitely went too heavy with this because I can see some of the white, and normally you do not, but I scooped a bit much. And that is a really nice scent. With this particular balm, it doesn't give you like an instant soothing feeling like you may be accustomed to with splashes and balms. In some cases, the oil itself that you put in there, the scent oil, might have a little bit of effect. But what I love about this balm is that it, over the course of the next few hours, it really heals the skin and moisturizes it. So it's kind of converted me into becoming sort of a balm guy. Anyhow, thanks everybody for watching. Again, we did our CJB or Greager non-folding razor. We used the WSP Black Amber Vanille. And we used the Hendrix Classics Shave Balm with the new scent that I believe has just been released, Emperor Oud. Everybody check out Dave Card and Jeremy Tyler, the Traveling Shavers channels. And thanks for watching.